their Super Bowl caliber. What about the defense, however? Can this cover up for the deficiencies on that side of the ball?
Yeah, that's the big question with the Bengals. And I think, getting Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, Chase Brown, all those guys preseason reps is a departure for Zach Taylor and the Bengals coaching staff. They haven't usually played them in the preseason. We all know the Bengals start slow, so maybe this helps with that. But yes, you're absolutely right. The season will rise and fall on the success of a defense that couldn't stop anyone last year. Has a new coordinator. Their first-round pick, Shamar Stewart, we know it took him a while to get into camp due to contract issues, but he looked pretty good last night. And if he can be a guy that makes plays off the edge, and they can get Trey Hendrickson signed and get him to come in, that defense has a chance to be good enough. And when I say good enough, this does not have to be one of the top 5 defenses in the entire league. This only has to be good enough to support its elite offense, and that is what the Bengals are hoping for this season.
So that's the biggest part, what Grosh just mentioned last right there. They don't have to be top 10, top 5 in the National Football League. They were 25th last season. If they're 19th, if they're 18th, that's good enough, especially when you have the offensive weaponry that they have in Cincinnati. It's all about, can you get key stops in key moments for this defense? That's exactly what happened when we seen the Cincinnati Bengals go to the Super Bowl versus the Los Angeles Rams. They weren't a top 10 defense, but in critical moments, they were able to get those stops and get that football back to Joe Burrow and company to let him go to work.
But they got no stops in no moments last season. If you look at that Washington game, they couldn't stop Jayden Daniels at any moment throughout. That's what I'm wondering. You can win 11 games with an 18th ranked defense in this offense. Can you navigate through the AFC?
Well, that's going to be the question. But remember, this thing is going to run through their offense. When you're able to put up 30-plus points a game, which I think is totally reasonable for the Cincinnati Bengals, you just got to be able to slow them down. Don't be a sieve or a nosebleed on the defense side of football. Right. Just be able to get some stops and get the ball back to your offense.
All right, not the only game we had last night, Ross. We're going to get you back in here in just a second. Baltimore taking on the Indianapolis Colts in a matchup where Anthony Richardson and the Colts were looking to get things going. Richardson's first drive, 1st and 10 from the Indy 47, fakes the handoff and finds Adonai Mitchell for a gain of 15. Colts would go on to kick a field goal and go up 3-0. Richardson's second drive. Colts now down 7-3. 2nd and 10 from the Indy 35. Look out. Hot. David Ajabo comes unblocked off the left edge, gets the sack. Richardson's shaken up. He'd be ruled out with a dislocated right pinky. Here comes Daniel Jones. 1st and 10 from the Indy 29. Fakes the handoff. Penn State. Tyler Warren, the rookie, has room to run. It's a 23-yard gain. Warren finished with 3 catches for 4 yards. Later in the drive, Jones finds Mitchell again. This time 22 yards. Jones leads the Colts to a field goal. They now trail only 14-6. Second quarter, Colts down 14-6. 2nd and 7 from the Indy 48. Under pressure, rolling left. Floating one here to Ashton Doolin for a gain of 25.
It's a great job buying time, keeping his eyes downfield for an explosive play.
Jones gets the Colts another field goal. Goes 10 of 21 for 144 yards. No touchdowns, no picks. Here is Anthony Richardson, though, on the big story after the game.
That's a tricky one because it's 5-man pro, and I'm hot from the backside. I just got to get my eyes, just be able to, react to that. But this 5-man pro, just playing hot. I just got to be in my P's and Q's when it comes to that. It was just going to be hard for me to see it anyway because my eyes are looking a certain way. But I just got to be keyed on when everybody bringing pressures like that.
Wood, you spent a long time at a high level protecting quarterbacks. You see that play, what are you thinking?
Yeah, that was on Anthony Richardson right there. He even admitted it right there. And they actually, it's what we call a simulated pressure. And what you're going to see right here is the defensive end up top. He's going to drop out, okay? And then they're going to bring a linebacker right here. So they're only bringing 4 players. And so if you're Anthony Richardson, your eyes got to take you to what's happening right here. He was oblivious to the pressure that was coming on his backside. And so if you're Anthony Richardson, the processing has to be quicker. You got to be able to get through your reads a little bit quicker. But I think that ultimately the biggest part is he got injured. That's been the biggest thing with Anthony Richardson, his inability to stay on the field. And if you're the Indianapolis Colts, unfortunately, to me, that's going to be the deciding factor in who's going to win this quarterback battle.
So this game is more mental than it is physical. And for the starting quarterback, you have to understand what's going on at all times within the defense, right? You know in that scat protection, it's an empty protection, right? Because your back is free releasing to the right side. So your offensive line is sliding left. So now the offensive tackle, he has to sift on the right side.
Careful now.
So he has to take the most dangerous man, which is the linebacker coming. So now you have to know, Anthony Richardson, that defensive end is coming free. Your answer to the test is the running back in the flat that's hot. That's why I yell, hot, 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 hot. Now, outside of Anthony Richardson, I would say this. If you're the running back, also be on your P's and Q's. You can yell hot, hot, hot as you're going out on your flat route. A little bit more urgency from him, but for Anthony Richardson, these are the type of things that you have to have down pat. Now, luckily for him, it's just a doggone dislocated pinky, because we don't want to be saying, hey, Mrs. Richardson, your son is in the hospital. And luckily that didn't happen right there, but that could have been a concussion, that could have been a collarbone, that could have been a shoulder, and this is a guy who's been injured within his shoulder on his throwing arm already in the past. So you have to know the answers to the test. Everything is not going to always be clear-cut, but that definitely was, in my opinion.
Hey, Garage, the two big issues with Anthony Richardson, in no particular order, the ability to stay healthy and the ability to quickly process information and make good decisions. Both were an issue last night. Is this battle already over?
Well, we have to see how this turns out for next week. Can Anthony Richardson play in the Colts' second preseason game? If so, do they expand the plan to give him more work than they originally were going to in week 2 of the preseason, because they need to see more from him? The issue has been health. This is a player that has missed 19 games in his first 2 NFL seasons. He is young. He is raw. He needs to play in order to get better at things like, adjusting the protection, accuracy with his short and mid-range throws. I've been told he's shown improvement on stuff throughout camp, but if he can't stay on the field, then none of that matters, and that, of course, has been his biggest issue.
All right, other side of the ball, I want to talk about the Ravens for a second. Historically, they've gotten off to some pretty solid starts under head coach John Harbaugh. Took over in 2008. Take a look at the first 4 games of the season this year for the Baltimore Ravens. Not exactly a layup in the opening month of the season. Harry Douglas, you get a look at that. What are you thinking?
So what? We're talking about one of the better rosters in the National Football League. This is a team that started 0-2 last year. They lost to the Kansas City Chiefs in game 1. They lost to the Las Vegas Raiders, but they found their groove. I don't want to hear anything about the schedule is hard. When you have the best or top 2 rosters in the National Football League, when you're gonna have probably one of the best defenses in the National Football League, you have a 2-time MVP quarterback in Lamar Jackson. Don't talk to me about how hard the schedule might be. Find a way. You're a storied franchise. Get it done.
Harbaugh, first week of the season, I believe he's sitting somewhere around 12-5 in week 1. Throughout his entire history, there's only been 1 year where he finished worse than 2-2. About 10 years ago, they were 1-3. This is the year Jackson finally gets him over the hump?
Hey, listen, he has all the horses that he needs. We always said the only person